So when I first got into comic books, your great-grandma Nancy and her boyfriend Jerry were doing flea markets a lot selling jewelry. There was a guy, I believe his name was Tom Mackey. He had comic books 3 for $1. And I would get Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and I always liked these Marvel 2-in-1s, which started the Thing from Fantastic Four. And they had Marvel team-ups, which were with Spider-Man, and they always had a different character. See, this one's with Daredevil. They were awesome. Now your grandma Rita, she was booking punk rock shows and whatnot, and I would hang out upstairs while the bands were playing, and I would read her eerie and creepy magazines. They were more horror, a little more adult, a little scarier. I loved them. So mainly all the comic books I got growing up were from garage sales and flea markets. Jerry and Nancy had a booth at a flea market in Huber Heights, and the guy's name was Dan, I believe. I used to get some comics from him, back issue comics and baseball cards, because I also like to collect sports cards some. Not as much as comics, but I kind of liked them almost the same for a while there when I was around like your guys' age. When I got to be around 11, this came out. Wolverine number 50. Has these cool slashes in the cover where Wolverine sliced the cover. So this was 91. I wasn't quite 12. And when this came out, I got this from Dan. It was one of the first books I ever bought for full cover price. It was $2.50 at the time. And it was so nice. And I thought it was so cool. It was the first one that I ever bought a bag and a board for. I told him, I was like, can I get a bag and a board? I think they were $0.25. And I got my Wolverine. And I put it in there. I had it in that for the first time ever. Sweet. And I was like, that looks so beautiful. Such a beautiful book. It does. And then I took it home and I read it. And I loved it. And I thought it was so cool. Let's see, yeah. And this was part 3 of a 3-issue storyline. So I went back to the flea market, I think, the next day. And I got issue 48 and 49. And then I read it all. And then issue 51 was coming out, and I told him I wanted a copy. And from then on, I started buying Wolverine. It was the first title I ever was like basically a file customer to get this book. And this is what started it all. After that, I totally gave up sports cards. I still like some UFC cards here and there, and I do get some packs of cards every now and then, just see what they kind of look like and what they're doing. Yeah. But comics were a completely different thing then. And I've been into comics pretty hardcore ever since, because I think they're just a beautiful format. I like artwork, and I like writing, so I like it put together. I love the way a nice book, the layout looks. I like the way they feel. It's just a neat format. If the electricity goes out, you can light a candle or read in the sunlight. You don't need anything else. It's beautiful. And the characters. A lot of the characters, like Wolverine, I've been following him for decades. The characters are awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of the characters that I like reading. You know, movies and different things. It's like a couple hours and it's done. Or a TV series, you might get 20 hours and it's done. Comics just keep coming every month. And this was the one that's created the monster that is your daddy with comic books.
Because you love them so much.